Welcome back to Between the Ponds. I got a special guest with us here today. This is my nephew Waylon. Say hello.
Howdy.
As Waylon says, he's country as cornbread. So we're just going to have us a little chat today and talk about some fun things. My focus in my project here is trying to promote mental health. And so we're going to have some chit chat and maybe some questions along the way and get to know Waylon a little bit. So on the way here, you were telling me about this truck. So what kind of truck is it? Give us some specs on it, and why is this truck so important to you?
Well, the truck I have is a 1998 Chevrolet. It's C1500 Z71 model. It has a 350 cubic inch motor, and it is green in color. And the reason why it means so much to me is it was my papa's at one point in time, and he passed away sadly 2 years ago. And he always told me it was my truck, and now I am in charge of fixing it up and getting it back on the road.
So fixing it up sounds like it's going to be a bit of a chore. What are you working on right now, and what's going to get this thing back on the road?
Well, right now I'm trying to put a fuel pump in it to make it run again, because it won't start and stay running on its own.
So what does that entail, having to put a fuel pump in a vehicle?
Well, you gotta drop the gas tank, you gotta take that out, and in order to do that, you have to unbolt a lot of stuff around the motor, or not motor, the fuel net filler spot, and then there's straps on it you have to take off, and you gotta disconnect a bunch of lines and wires, and then the tank will come out.
Well, that sounds like quite a job. I mean, a fuel tank's not a small thing.
Yep.
Wow. Now you were telling me that you've got big plans for this truck. When you get this thing running, then what?
Well, I kind of just want to really put it back to the way it was when my papa bought it. And I just want to make it to where it's real nice to drive. And I do want to put a few modifications on it to where it runs a little better, a little more horsepower, and it drives a little better.
What would that take?
I'm going to put a camshaft in the motor that's going to make it run a little better and make it a little faster and have a little more power. And I want to put a nice set of tires on it to where it drives really good. And eventually I want to try and get the paint work on it.
And I understand when you explain it to me that sound is pretty important to you.
Yeah.
So what is important about the way the truck sounds?
Well, I like the way it sounds now, but it's very loud, and I don't want it to be loud, so I'm gonna put new exhaust on it to make it quieter and make it kind of have a growl. And then the camshaft that I'm gonna put in it is gonna make it float a little bit on idle. And the reason why it's important for me for sound is because sound is all I can really get out of a vehicle because I can't see it.
Oh, okay. So that's news for listeners right now, is that you've lost your vision. You're not able to see the truck, but you can feel the vibration of the truck.
Yep.
You can hear the sound of it. So I can see that sound would be a pretty big deal for you.
Yep.
And when you say a growl, tell us what does that mean, a growl in a truck?
It just has a really deep rumble to it. A deep kind of deeper sound that it'll have.
Yeah. What do you listen for when you're um, in a vehicle? Whenever you're, what is it that you're listening to as it's running?
Um, Mainly the engine I listen to, and then I listen to see if there's any loud noises that shouldn't be happening. I listen for rattles and squeaks and just stuff that shouldn't happen.
Okay. So I know whenever you ride with me, you picked up really quick that I have a newer vehicle that whenever I stop, it shuts off and then starts back up again. And you always point out when you feel it shift gears and things like that. So it sounds like you've kind of gotten more attentive to little details like that and what's going on in a vehicle, not just what you see.
Yep. Um, where I have lost my vision, it kind of my other senses has gotten a lot stronger. So I go off the way the vehicle feels, what the what it does when it shifts gears. It makes a different feel and it sounds a little different. And I just mainly go off feeling and sound by telling stuff like that.
Okay. So whenever I first started, I know this is our first conversation together like this. So I mentioned that what's important to me about having conversations like this is focusing on mental health.
Yep.
And a big thing with mental health is how we cope, things that we do to help ourselves through difficult times, things that we do to kind of feel better, even if we can't change a situation. So you've shared with us that you've lost your vision.
Yep.
So, what are some things that help you? That had to be pretty hard on you. I mean, what is that like to lose your vision?
Well, I am. I'm going on 3 years without my vision now, and at first, for the first year and a half, it was extremely hard, and
Hard in what
you,
way?
yeah,
Hard
hard
at
to deal with, and just sad. And I didn't really have a whole lot that cheered me up until you showed me audiobooks.
oh yes,
And when you got me into listening to audiobooks, it's made me realize that there's not just stuff out there to see. There's a whole lot more out there to do than just being able to see things.
yeah,
So that's what helps me a lot. And then talking really helps a lot too.
yeah, and that's an important one that we talk about a lot. As I do this, is the importance of having someone to share things with, to talk about your feelings, to um, feel heard, to feel understood. Do you have people in your life? And I mean, obviously, you got me here,
Yep.
and I can't be with you every day. So, um, what's that support look like for you? How do you reach out to people?
Well, I have a flip phone, and I got it with the buttons raised up on it a little bit. So I can actually feel the buttons and tell which number I'm pressing. And I call my granny a lot and talk to her, and I talk to my mama a lot, and then I also have dad that I talk to a lot.
Yeah. As we've talked, I know that you've been through some tough things that lately that we don't have to get into today, but that you had a lot of people surround you. You had a lot of buddies show up. I know you've got uh, a bus driver you're pretty fond of, and
Yeah,
um,
my
yeah,
janitor.
yeah, buddy at school, the janitor kind of looks out for you, and I think you've got a pretty special school teacher right now that looks after you a lot, and
Yep.
so what's important about relationships with people, about making friends? What does that mean to you to have a friend?
Well, I enjoy having friends, and I don't have a whole lot of friends, but the friends that I do have, I hold very dearly to my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And my relationship with my friends is very good. Very, very good. Because I talk to them a lot and we joke and cut up and stuff back and forth with each other and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I do know that you're a jokester.
Yep,
You like to pick and poke.
yep.
Yeah. So that sounds like that goes a long way with friendships, is to make people laugh. And
Oh, I love making people laugh.
yeah. So I see that put a little grin on your face just thinking about you. You're probably thinking about some of the meanness that you've been into.
Yep.
Who comes to mind when you think about picking and poking?
Um, oh Lord, I have a bunch of stuff that comes to mind when I'm picking and poking at people. I try not to get too mean with it. I mainly try and make people laugh.
Okay.
So most of the time it's funny stuff.
Okay. So that's a good point, to have fun with things. That jokes are meant to be funny, not hurtful.
Yep.
And so when we're talking to people and we're cutting up, not to make fun of the person, but maybe a situation, or uh, goofing around a little bit, but to make sure that you're kind to the person. Is that
Yep.
right? Okay. Hmm. Well, you've gone deep fast in this conversation. I thought we were just going to talk about cars, but you've really shared some important stuff with us.
Yep.
Yeah. So opening that bag of worms there, we've kind of shared that you've lost your sight. You also have some hearing issues, right?
Yep.
So what's your accommodation there? How do you manage that?
Well, I am pretty well completely deaf on my right side. And so therefore let's see, about a year and a half ago I got a cochlear implant.
Yeah. Is that this thing here? You want to turn your head sideways? We'll see it.
Yep.
Yep. I see it there.
And you would not believe how much a cochlear implant can really do. It is very scary going into it because you do have to have surgery.
Mm.
And surgery is always scary.
Yeah.
And it can be very painful. It was for me, but it's very worth getting. And then I also have a hearing aid on my left side that helps me a lot. But now I don't rely on my hearing aid as much as I do my implant.
Yeah. So having this technology, having this assistance, has really been a game changer for you.
Yep. Having the implant surgery has changed my life for the better because I have been able to hear things that I have never been able to hear before. I hear things differently that I've never been able to hear.
What's an example of something that you hear different?
Well, for an example, used to I couldn't hear the birds real good outside, and I can hear them when they're hollering. I can hear things in the house that you use on a day-to-day basis that I hadn't been able to hear before, and I can hear vehicles a lot better too.
Oh, okay. Now I remember that when you first got this cochlear and you got in, I think it was Granny's car.
Yep.
What what was that like when you got in and you could hear? Because her car's quiet. It's a
Yep.
very quiet little vehicle. And what was that like?
Oh, it was amazing. I got in it and she started it and I could actually hear it sitting there running. And used to I could just only feel it sitting there running. I couldn't ever hear it.
Yeah.
And it really surprised me and it really made me like my implant and made me really glad I got it.
So it sounds like it opened your mind to think of, oh wow, there's a lot that I've been missing
Yep.
and maybe didn't even realize it. And now to have that experience, it was like, oh, okay, this is going to be exciting.
Yep.
Wow. Now, you said hear things different. What was it like? Like, how do I sound different? I think voices was one of the things that was going to be a little different for you. Is that right?
Yeah. Um, at first, now it's not so different because I've gotten used to it. But now, when I first got my implant, people's voices kind of sound like Mickey Mouse a little bit.
Oh gosh.
And anybody's voices, male voices, female, it didn't matter, deep, high pitch, they all sound kind of like Mickey Mouse or something like that. And it didn't take long for me to adjust with it. And now that I've gotten used to it, everything sounds normal.
So you can tell who someone is by the sound of their voice now.
Yep.
Okay. Because I know when I call you, your phone doesn't announce who's calling.
Nope.
You can't see the screen to know whose number's popping up or whose name. And I can just say a couple of words and you know it's me.
Yep.
Okay. Is there anything else that you want us to know about you?
Um, I am physically disabled.
What does that mean?
Means I can't walk, and I'm in a wheelchair, and I don't have a whole lot of muscle, but other than that,
So that's a lot, to think about. Um, again, taking it back to the mental health piece of things and how you adjust, how you um, take care of your feelings, how you find joy in your life, and so what kind of things do you like to do? What if you can't, like, you're what, 15,
yep,
and so you can't play sports,
nope,
can't run around in the yard, can't ride a bicycle,
nope.
those kinds of things. What is fun?
Well, I like, as you know, I love vehicles, so therefore I love learning about them. I like being around vehicles and learning about them and learning how they work and how to work on them. And then I also have this thing during the summer that I really like doing. It's the mud sling.
Okay, we got it. You're gonna have to tell us what the mudsling is, because us country folks, we know what that is, but maybe not everybody knows what that
Yeah.
is.
So what it is it's a race, but they're racing across a mud hole. And they're racing trucks. There's some cars down there. There's four wheelers, side by sides. Really, anything you can think of, they race it. And they're jacked up really high. They sit really high up off the ground. They got big tires. And they try and get across it as fast as they can go.
And so, what is it that you enjoy the most about this event? Because there's one thing that stands out that you can't miss when you go to a mudsling.
The sound.
The sound. And
The
what?
sound and the smells.
Okay, what does it sound like?
Well, it's really loud down there. About 95% of the vehicles is extremely loud. And when they go across there, across the mud hole for the race, it's as loud as you can about imagine.
So they've got those engines cranked,
Yeah,
and there's not good exhaust systems in play. So this is
bad for the environment.
well, maybe that too.
Yeah,
But there isn't anything to dampen the sound. It's all out and
yep,
lots of rip roaring going on.
yep,
Okay. What you mentioned smell.
yep.
That's an interesting. What's it smell like?
Well, you got different kinds of fuel that they run, and you got what they call race gas, and it's very expensive, but it smells completely different from what you buy at a gas station. and where they got the motors, the engines cranked so high, it puts out a lot of smell, gas smell. And some of them were running what they call methanol, and it smelled like somebody sprayed candy out in the air.
Candy?
Yeah, it's very sweet smelling.
Huh. Wow. So you have picked up, you know what somebody's running in their vehicle just by the way the exhaust smells.
Yep.
Wow. So I thought one of the telling moments for me, I remember us going and visiting a cousin a couple of summers ago, and we were sitting outside, and somebody pulls up in a side by side.
Yep.
And what did you do? You remember?
No.
You just looked at everybody and said, "That's a so and so." You named the make and model and all of the what the size of the engine was and
Yep.
everything of the side by side as it pulled up, and
Yep.
you got it right.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with sounds, and from Ford to Dodge to Chevrolet to Toyota to Nissan, they all sound different. Now, to, to people that their senses probably ain't as strong as mine, you can't tell the difference very well. But there is a difference in sound, and normally I can get it right on just the sound of a vehicle or side by side or full wheel.
Okay. Wow. So I want to wrap all this up into to kind of bring everything together and what we're talking about here. So you've talked about things that bring you joy, things that excite you, things that you like to learn about, and using the skills that you do have
Mhm.
and not focusing on what you don't.
Mhm.
So is that about right?
Yep.
So if you were to talk to somebody who was struggling, having a hard time, or feeling down, or going through maybe something like you've been through,
Yep.
what would you want them to know? What would you want to say to them?
Well, I just want to say, if you're going through a hard time, like I said earlier, if you have somebody to talk to, definitely reach out and talk to somebody. If you don't have somebody to talk to, maybe go out and find something you enjoy, and do the things you enjoy. And when you do those things, it takes your mind off of the stuff that you're depressed or sad about. And just my biggest thing that I it helps me is I always look at my situation as things can always be worse. So yeah, I mean, just like I said, adventure out, try to find things you like doing, try to find people to talk to, and just stuff like that. That's what helps me.
Yeah. So I like that, even though things have really been hard for you, that you look at that positivity, that you're kind of looking at the things that what we call practicing gratitude,
Yep.
to look at the things that you do have, not the things you don't.
Yep.
Wow. Well, thank you for talking to us today.
Yep. Anytime.
Okay. So I think there may be some more conversations with Waylon. What do you think?
I'd love to have some more conversations.
Okay. Well, I think that's going to be it for today, and we'll let you get back into your fun for the day. And this is Between the Pines. I'm Donna. This is Waylon.
Yep. Glad to talk to you, everybody.
Bye for now.